Okay, so I am live. We're live now on Escaping the Echo Chamber. Um, we're making sure we share this out. Where am I sharing it to? To a page. Sharing to Escaping. Facebook again. And now, yeah. Okay. So we're live. And so yeah, and before the verdict came in, I was saying I did a couple of videos go live, and I talked about how acting like celebrating, the verdict. If he got convicted, I was like, if he gets convicted, what does that change? Because we already have seen so many people die. We've seen so many unarmed people die at the hands of the police and not be held accountable, and the police not be held accountable. We've seen so much police misconduct, from police brutality, excessive force, corruption. Like arresting people on made up evidence, planted evidence. In Baltimore, I got to do some more research on this. It's like there. In fact, there was this whole. They were stealing drugs. They were fabricating evidence. Like they were planting toy guns, which is like wow. They're planting toy guns on people to use as a pretext so that they could search people, bring cases against people, steal drugs, move it elsewhere. But all of this stuff happening, the verdict, the conviction of Derek Chauvin for killing George Floyd doesn't change all of the other stuff. It doesn't change the fact that so many of these confrontations between police and civilians are based on horrible legislation. And the legislators will never talk about that. They will say, "Oh, look at the police. Oh, the police are racist. Oh, the police are out of control." And they won't say, "But the laws we're passing are stupid, pointless, and unnecessarily intrusive." They won't talk about that. So I knew going in to as we were waiting the verdict that like what changes? There's that's not even something to really celebrate, because it doesn't bring George Floyd back. It doesn't actually change the underlying problems. It's like I say, I don't like treating symptoms. I don't like masking symptoms. I like treating the disease, curing the root causes of the disease. Just masking symptoms doesn't solve anything. And as the verdict came out, there comes word that a 15-year-old girl was shot. Now reports are saying that she may be 16. So either a 15 or 16-year-old Black girl was shot in Columbus, Ohio, and by police. The first statements from the police are that she was armed with a knife. And people are like, okay, like what? You can't handle a 15, 16-year-old girl with a knife? And then the body camera is released. One of the cop who shot, his body cam is released. Well, him or her. Yeah, he sounded like a him. So his body cam is released, and it shows that he shot her not when she was attacking him with a knife, but when she was attacking another girl with a knife. And so I have a question for anybody who's watching this either live or in after it's uploaded. A pedestrian gets hit by a car. Who's at fault? Who's wrong? The driver or the pedestrian? If you answer that question, that's a problem. If you actually have an answer that either the driver or the pedestrian is wrong in that scenario, there's a problem, because I gave you no information. I just said the driver a pedestrian got hit by a car. We don't know what happened. Like, you don't know if the pedestrian was standing in the middle of the street and jumped in front of the car as he tried to swerve to avoid. So, but this is what I'm seeing. And this is what the channel's about: escaping the echo chamber, not just retreating to these reactionary positions of, okay, well, I'm on the left, so if the right goes this way, I go that way. And if the right, well, I'm on the right, so if the left goes that way, I go this way. Like, that's just absurd, ridiculous. Being intelligent enough to look at situations, examine them, and say, okay, doing some actual critical thinking, saying, okay, this is different from this situation, and this situation is different from a lot of situations we've seen. First thing that the cops claim so far, or what it appears, and I really like that, because we all have certain, once we see something like this, we all have certain predispositions or preliminary opinions, and so based on my preliminary observations, but I have to make sure I remember that this isn't facts, this isn't a determinative stance, this is my preliminary observations based on the information we've seen so far. Based on the information we've seen so far, this is a drastically different situation than a lot of the situations we've seen where, like, people saying the police officer murdered the girl. I think that's a horrible take. Based on what I've seen so far, I think that's a horrible take. To say that this police officer murdered the girl, I think is a horrible take at this point, based upon what I've seen. There are some people saying that the one person says the police officer was completely justified. Once again, we don't know that yet. It looks, now you can say my preliminary observation is that he appears to have been acting in a justified manner. Cool. I don't understand how, and so I'm actually revealing my preliminary observations, my preliminary opinion. My preliminary opinion is leaning to the side of, I'm not going out and marching against this police officer right now. Number one, I'm not even marching against that police department right now, because several things I liked. Like, it happened. They came out, gave statements, boom, body cam video here. Like, the quickness with which they did that, I appreciate that, because especially on the day that George Floyd's murderer was convicted, do not dilly-dally and leave, because without introducing the body camera footage, I don't know if y'all are just making stuff up. Like, y'all could say, oh yeah, she had a knife and we had to, and he had to react to save people's lives, and based upon I don't believe government because they say something. If a police officer says something, I don't just automatically say, oh, the police officer's right. Oh, that must be the truth. In fact, I tend to lean the other way. I tend to look at things skeptically when they're said by the government. When they're said by police officers, I'm like, I don't know if I buy that. That's my initial reaction. I do temper it with the fact that, okay, but there's still facts that need to be facts and evidence that need to come out. The problem is, the police are often in charge of the facts and evidence, so that does potentially change things. In this case, I'm glad the body camera was there, and I'm glad the body camera footage was released, like almost like that night. Like, a couple hours later, they released the body camera, at least that initial cop's body camera footage. Boom, that is really helpful. And so that's why I think the public should make sure, hey, we want keep the information coming, conduct this investigation, and get to the facts of the case, get to the bottom of it. Because just reacting and saying, "Oh, the cop is justified," is I don't think is a good take. Just reacting and say, "Oh, the cop, this is a murderous cop," is not a good take. And especially once we've seen the body camera footage, I'm like, this is a different case, and people need to step back, because my first thought is, if I'm the father of that girl in pink, if you've seen the body camera footage, and I don't, I'm gonna have to figure out how to share videos on live stream. There's a way. I'm new to the live stream. But if you've seen the body camera footage, there's a, um, a girl. In fact, the girl who's got shot has a knife, appears to have a knife, and she's going at a girl in pink. So my thought is, as if I'm the father of the girl in pink, am I happy that the cop took the shot? Am I, or what? Because the alternative in my mind is, what if the cop doesn't shoot? What happens to that girl in pink? Are we looking at a situation where we've got a young dead black girl and cops standing around letting her get killed? Is that because there's potentially that situation? And then is the reaction, oh, these cops don't care about, they just stood there and watched it happen, they didn't like, is that the reaction? Because it seems like that potentially could have happened had he just stepped back and just, froze up or not acted. Now there's some people saying he could have acted not with less lethal means. That's and that's perspective, and I think that there's reasonable I think that reasonable people can disagree on that point, especially at the with the immediacy with which the situation is. Like, she's right there on the girl. She's right there. Her hand is cocked back. Like, at this point, how much time do you have to, you know, use non-lethal means to stop and save that girl in the pinks from getting stabbed or killed? I mean, so I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, he should have used this, and I've seen people take, he should have shot her in the legs. Like, what? Like, do you realize this isn't a TV show, right? Like like maybe if all of your knowledge of police or of just life didn't come from from TV, like, you might have a more realistic perspective on, other than he should have shot her in the leg. Like, what? Like, people, please, like, just stop. Like, because I think Biden said some foolishness like that, and it's a rather ridiculous position to shoot to wound. Like, that's, if lethal force needs to be displayed, like, you don't just take it lightly when you use it, but when you use it, make sure you use it appropriately. Like, that's the position and that's the approach you should be having to dealing with, uh, as a police officer, or as anybody who owns a firearm and who has to use a firearm. You don't bring out that firearm for no reason, but once you bring it out, you make sure you use it appropriately. Like, because you keep in mind that this has the potential to end somebody's life. You keep that's a heavy burden, a heavy weight to bear, and you know that, and so you don't just bring out your gun for no reason. Oh, what did you call me? And that's the problem, because a lot of people don't have that respect for the firearms, and they'll bring it out for no reason. Um, but you respected that it's only because of how serious it is and what it can do and what it represents. It's the end of a person's life if that firearm is used. That's why you don't bring it out unless it absolutely has to. And then when you do, you make sure you use it in order to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. Because listen, like I said, there's I've seen various takes. I've seen people calling him a murderer already, and like that's, in my opinion, that seems to be the one, because we're so preliminary in this, but based on what we've seen, that doesn't seem like a good take. To say he's absolutely justified, once again, that's preliminary. But to say that this does not look like a bad shoot, that's where you're leaning, I get it. I understand that. I understand that perspective, because I'm looking at this and I'm like, people saying, okay, well, she called the police. Okay, if she called the police, when the police get there, like, let the police do what you called them for. If you call the police, like, if you call the police to help you, to save you, like, realize when the police come on the scene, you have to let them know, okay, I'm being attacked, I need help. Because if instead of letting them know that, you're you're in the process of defending yourself, but you have the upper hand, you've got to realize you're going to now look, in their eyes, somebody who just comes on the scene, they're going to think this is the bad guy, and they're going to react. Because there's so many times when you can see an altercation happening and you're new to it, you didn't see how it began. If you just walk up on it, you're only seeing a snapshot of the altercation. So you could, and if you're going to try to help, which a lot of times people do try to help, they wind up getting it wrong because they don't know what's actually happening. You could see a guy. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's just so many different um, things that could have happened leading up to it that you're not aware of if you're just fresh on the scene. But if you're the person that called the police, like, tell the police, help. If you call the police, then say, like, help, help, they're attacking me, I need help. If you call the police show up, and you're now going after one person and then turn and start going after another person. Now, you see, here's the thing. In the body camera footage, when he first comes on the scene, the girl in the pink is standing, just looks at him, and like he like walks slightly past her. The other girl, the girl that was shot, is charging forward at another girl who falls, and from the camera you can't really see. Now I believe he can see better with what was happening, but I'm not certain if the girl in the pink just remained motionless over there, or if she moved towards the girl with the knife, who appeared to have the knife. Because if she then moved forward towards the girl who appeared to have the knife, then that might explain why she then turned and started going after that girl. However, at the same point, if the cop is there and you're still like, you've got to realize, if the cop is there, he's not supposed to let you stab somebody. If they're attacking you, he's supposed to stop them from attacking you, but he's also supposed to stop you from attacking them. Like, he's not supposed to just let one person attack the other. That's not what it's supposed to be. And I'm looking at this, and there's some really bad takes on this. I like that. I like how Sonny Johnson is saying, let's wait for the evidence, because she pointed out that we don't know if that's accurate. If it's accurate that this is the girl that called the police, she's defending herself. We don't know that. This is what's being said. And I do want to find out if that is true. We don't know for a fact that is true, but that's what's being said right now. If it is true, there's still the situation of what happened while the cops were on the scene, once the cops arrive. And I think the body camera of other officers will shed more light on what's happening around as opposed to what's happening just right there. Like I said, there's a lot more evidence that needs to be looked at, but right now, calling this cop a murderer just doesn't sound like does not seem like a good take to me, and it's very reactionary. It's like I said, it's that pedestrian and driver. Okay, a pedestrian got hit by a car, and drivers will say, "Oh, the pedestrian was wrong." Yeah, he shouldn't have been in the way. He got in the way of the vehicle. Pedestrians will say, "Oh, the car was wrong. He shouldn't have. He probably ran a light or something. He shouldn't have hit the pedestrian." But if we don't know what actually happened, then let's stop. Let's stop being so reactionary, and let's wait. Let's see what's already available and take a look at it and be honest about it. Like, be honest about what you've seen on that video. If you've watched the body cam footage, be honest about what you saw. Because what I saw, I'm not gonna jump out there and say this cop is a murderer. I mean, if, like I said, if I'm the father of the girl in pink, I'm like, that cop may have saved my daughter's life. Like, that's so. I mean, there's because it what happens when the cops show up on the scene, from my perspective, and from a perspective of just, I think, if you're a person who's ever had to deal with cops coming on the scene during an altercation, like, yeah, like, once the cops show up, don't keep going, because even if it's a matter of you don't want to go to jail, like, you're not, like, it doesn't make sense to keep fighting in front of the cops. Like, if you're able to stop fighting, then you stop fighting as the cops get there, because, hey, you're not trying to get locked up. That seems to me to be just the natural, the smart thing to do. But I really do appreciate something that Boyce Watkins tweeted. Let me just pull up his tweet. I'm not gonna, like I said, I don't know how to share it, but I'm gonna read the tweet. So the tweet is: "Dear parents, especially men, next time there's a fight with kids in your neighborhood, please regulate the situation before police arrive. We should be the ones controlling our children, not standing around while they're stabbing each other." Exactly. Like, seriously. Like, let's stop let's stop calling police into the neighborhoods and then getting mad when they do what they do. Let's, like, we see, there's a lot of people who, and there's somebody who made an absolutely ridiculous take. Guess who? No, it's not Brandon Tate. It's like, I saw his take, and like I said, he was the one that went ahead and said, "Oh, it's justified." That's the title, and I think it's still too soon to just jump to that conclusion completely. But there was a lot more nuance in his take, and I'm going to acknowledge that. Just because I dislike somebody does not mean I'm going to say, "Oh, well, that," like I said, that's that reactionary foolishness, that if he says something and I dislike him, I'm going to pick the opposite. No. If he says something and there happens to be some sort of agreement, I'm like, okay, it's interesting. I didn't expect that, because he seemed to display a lot of more nuance in his discussion of this video, and of the body cam footage. But Candace Owens, she's just gone. Like, wow. It's but yeah, before I get to her, but actually, yeah, to get to her, because we're talking about people who have attacked this girl, this dead girl, and who are maligning her, and all of a sudden, and somebody like Candace calling her a maniac. Candace Owens' tweet was, let me pull this up. Yeah, it's okay. So she says Ma'Khia Bryant was a knife wielding maniac. Yeah, that's absurd. Candace Owens is oh yeah, she's just ridiculous. But like I said, so just jumping out there and attacking this girl and demonizing her, that's not what I'm doing. I don't think. I definitely think once the cops are on the scene, like stop. If you call the cops, stop when they get there. Like if you call the cops for help and they're on the scene, then hey, help me. Like there's some people who say like, well, hey, if you're being attacked, and there's some people who, when they're attacked, won't call the police. There's some people like when the police get there, it's to pick up the bodies. There's some people who, if it gets to a situation where there's some people who have the mindset that if I am attacked and I must defend myself, the police will, when the police come on the scene, it's to pick up the bodies. That's it. Like I'm not calling police to help me. I will protect myself, and I will protect myself to the fullest extent necessary. Um, and so there are some people who have that, and they will defend themselves. And when the police come on the scene, it's to take people either to the hospital or to the coroner's office. Like that's how some people operate. And if you're defending yourself, like first rule of nature, self-preservation. But if you're calling the cops and the cops get there, okay, get help from the cops. Like you called them to help you, go get the help. And so, like I said, this isn't me attacking the girl. Like Boyce talked about, this is on us. This is on us as adults. We're failing to take care of our communities. We're failing to because like we're shoving the responsibility of these young people onto the state. We're inviting from schooling. We're sending them to the state to get educated. Then we get when kids do what kids do. They're young. They're especially as they're getting to teenage. You know, the hormones. Their bodies, their minds are changing. They're in such a state that they need help and support. And if our first reaction is, gosh, these kids are out of control, they need to be locked up, we're failing. That's a failure on us as adults. We're not taking care of the kids like we're supposed to be. We're not upholding our responsibilities to our kids like we're supposed to be. Like it goes back to that tweet from Bishop Swan, where he's talking about, oh yeah, when with the crack epidemic, you know, it wasn't a health consideration. It was, oh, we need to lock up these kids. But when it's heroin, then it's a health crisis, and then they're trying to protect their kids, and it's like, okay, well, we were the ones that are leadership, and the older generations are the ones that turned to police and says, lock these bad kids up. They failed. We are failing. We're failing to take control of the situation and be the leaders to our communities. So like with young people, okay, they need guidance. They're young. They will do stupid stuff. Kids do stupid stuff. And if we're not there to steer them right, guess who will be? And when the cops get on the scene, they may not do a lot of talking. And in this scenario, cops get on the scene, there's not a whole lot of talking. That's why we have to step up and take care of stuff. We shouldn't be calling the cops to handle stuff. Like, we need to be on the scene. We need to we're adults. We need to be getting these kids right. We need to tell them, hey, what are y'all doing? Stop acting scared of these kids. Like, stop being cowards. Like, that's our job, is to lead, to teach kids, to make sure that they don't have to get locked up, to get shot by police, to get killed by police. If we're doing our jobs. But there's so many people that are willing to just to pawn our youth onto the state, onto the system. Oh yeah, y'all take care of them. These bad kids are out of control. Nah, that means we're failing. That means we suck as leaders, as adults, as protectors. Like, you got other communities, they like, you want to know why white kids ain't getting locked up for heroin possession? Why it's treated as a health crisis? because they're taking care of their kids. They said, hey, no, you're not locking our kids up. You're not going to demonize our kids. And too many of us are letting that happen. Too many of us are quick to just discard our kids and just leave them at the mercy of the state. That's unacceptable. We have to step up and take care of our kids. We have to step up and say, hey, you're acting a fool. Stop this nonsense. We have to get involved. We have to stop depending on the government to do it for us. Because when the government does it for us, they're going to do it their way. And then we have kids growing up, spending the most crucial years of their lives locked up in prisons, getting killed by police. Nah, I really appreciate that tweet by Boyce. Yeah, police shouldn't be on the scene. That should have been handled by adults. That should have been squashed by adults. But this is happening because we're not doing our jobs. The kids need help. Kids need guidance. We've got to provide it for them. So if what she did is wrong, guess what? That's on the adults. That's on us. That's not on these kids. They're looking to us for guidance, and we can't handle it. So like, okay, we'll just do whatever we feel like. They're kids. But yeah, it's a sad situation, and I await more information to come out. And I just hope people. I mean, I'm looking at these takes. Like, stop with the reactionary foolishness. Stop it. Stop just. Oh, he's a murderer. Oh, she's a maniac. Stop being fools, because you'll sound like fools. When you just make these reactionary statements, you'll just immediately go to your corners and just start with this dumb shit. You'll sound like fools. Yeah, so I mean, I hope more information is forthcoming already. I like that they came out with, the body camera immediately. I want to see body cams of other officers so we can see other perspectives. Yeah, he clearly was like he appears to be the first cop on the scene, like right up on the crux of the action. But yeah, there's more evidence. There's more information to come out, and let's wait for it, and let's stop being so reactionary. Thank you for checking out Escaping the Echo Chamber. As always, thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.